can't talk about communism for another hour or so. Anyway, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast number 794. The real, capital real reason manga is beating comics. And this is a video from 2 years ago from Negative Legend in September. Has almost 125,000 views. So maybe we're going to look at a good argument. Maybe we're going to look at some stats. Maybe some evidence-based critique of the Western comic industry versus Eastern manga. Possibly South Korean. Maybe Chinese. I don't know. We'll find out. It is...
You're very hopeful about this.
Well, I mean, I've read so much comics and manga in my time. We've covered this topic. LitDev has covered this topic. It's been years since people have been figuring out what's going on with the Marvel world, the DC world, and the rest of the manga world, which has been taking over culture. As far as I know, Japan's been doing that for decades now. So it's just natural. They didn't want to do that. They just kept pumping out the stories. I mean, This summer season just started last week for anime. I'm seeing anime from manga I read years ago come out, and I'm like, I would never want to watch that. but I'm curious what they did with it because the manga was so weird, and I just want to know what happens. So it could be good. It could be absolute trash, but they're coming out with it, so I'm going to watch it. It's free. It's not charging me anything. I can find it online, no problem. And if I want it, I'll buy it. But yeah, I haven't had the need to buy manga lately. After buying Lone Wolf and Cub, I was like, that's the best manga. That's all I need. Then
it's up there, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, it's even an accomplishment if a mangaka can manage to finish the story.
This is a problem because
there's just so big of a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, because they need to first get the money from the publisher and say, okay, I'm going to write a contract with you for the next season, the next 6 months, whatever it is. They'll go, great. I got all these stories ideas. And they just go. They have a layout of what the season's going to look like, and they just fill it in. And hopefully they run into no problems. Like I've seen manga that has been brought back, that it finished its run, and they just brought it back, exactly the same story, different artist, different inker, maybe a different publisher, and the quality is just slightly better at times. You can tell it started off, it's like, oh, they put all this money in the first 2 episodes, the first 2 books, and then they're like halfway through, they know what they're doing, they're just coasting, and they just like the money is like, here's the inker, here's the printer, yeah, whatever, just pump it out. And it's kind of funny to see that you get these popular things, or things that have finished their run, and they just rerun them in a different light. So
I have seen like some of the recent chapters for Chainsaw Man, and it's there's a panel there with real clip art of a gun that the person didn't draw. It just has like that Photoshop filter that makes it look like it's black and white and such.
Yeah.
And now they are sitting in a bar with real chairs with that.
Yeah, I know.
Manga-looking characters sitting on it. It's so obviously out of place.
Compared to, let's say, the original writer of One Punch Man, where he just does scribbles, and the official One Punch Man manga, which takes from there, not word for word, because there's so many panels that don't get translated into the new manga, that are then very well drawn, very well inked, and they look amazing. So
they are professional works, yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of idea, because it usually goes from the web, not the web comic or the web novel, but the original stuff that has the full detail. It's basically a book, but the way that they would write book as a web comic or as a web novel, it's like 70, maybe 60% dialogue. And you're like, all right, that's fine. And then there's all these descriptors. And then this is like designed for an artist to go, I'm going to take that from the story and make a manga or make some sort of a visual representation. And that makes sense because you're kind of priming, minus all the descriptions of how a panel should look, and you're priming up the artist to draw it all out and saying, yeah, that's what this needs, because you created it in such a way that you're allowing an artist to fill in the blanks. So they're not like being forced to do it a certain way. There's a lot of freedom with that technique. And I haven't actually read enough to know the difference, because one I just finished reading was called A Returner's Magic Should Be Special, I think. And this actually had an anime release. Was it spring or winter? I think it was winter. And it was only like, it just came out. It had like 12, was it 24 or 12 episodes? And it's a really long manga. This is a super popular manga. It has like, hundreds of millions of views. And if you read how the webcomic does it, and then you read how the manga does it, and then you watch how the anime does it, there's all these cuts, all these jumps, and loss of narrative. And that's normal. That is like what you're expecting to get. So all the details that you want, you just keep. And if you're a fan of the anime, you're going to be a fan of the manga, because there's even more content. If you're a fan of the manga, there's the web novel, so you're going to love it even more. So that's how the natural progression should go. Whenever you watch a movie nowadays, where'd it come from? A comic book. Where'd it come from? A book. Read the book. It's like, oh wow, Game of Thrones. What's that? Oh, that's just one of 7 books. Oh, cool. Well, one of 6, but anyway. Jeez. So, one of the real reasons of why manga is beating comics is because they're better stories. It's that simple.
Much more variety as well.
There's more.
I don't know what's with Western, and by that I mean like the Americans, where they're just so into superheroes and those kind of stories, and you can't do it right, of course, but it just gets really dull.
Yeah, and we could argue the inclusion of politics is definitely a factor. It's not the only factor, but is definitely part of it. So it's sort of like a lighter fluid on the fire that's already going. Like they didn't have to do that. If they just kept their stories as classically as they were before 10 years ago, or 20 years ago rather, wouldn't be as bad. Still be going down though, just not as bad. So there's lots of reasons.
Yeah, like the kinds of people that went to Image after they abandoned DC and Marvel.
Okay.
Like that is why I believe is like the cause of it. Because Marvel and DC are just like trying to like throw in like whatever they had before.
That was
really running out of ideas.
That was during the 90s, even with Top Cow, I remember.
Yes.
In Image Comics, they were getting bigger and bigger, and Marvel and DC weren't dying, but they were slowing down. So
didn't they go bankrupt like Marvel did?
The 90s were weird because there were some months there were just like 12 Marvel comics, and then DC would have like one Batman, and then like some months there'd be like 20 DC comics, and like 8 of them were Batman. It was like, then you get like the Todd McFarlane stuff, and then the Top Cow stuff, and then Witchblade was a thing, and all these other big popular names would pop up. So yeah, they almost did, and then what was the Blade came out? That was the big thing with the Marvel movies, and
yes,
they did their own TV. The Generation X was the TV thing, and then they just kept making Blade films, and they started doing. Was it Iron Man came out later, 2000s?
2008, yes.
Yeah, it was much later after that. So, yeah, no, it took a while for Marvel to come back, but it was all for movies. Anyway, we've been rambling off long enough. Let's find out what the real reason why the Eastern comics have been outselling the Western comics.
Negative. What could you to say to add a new spin to this conversation? Blame comics for being too woke and shoving LGBT relations in your face. And I actually kind of agree, but not in the way you probably think. First of all, when it comes to comics right now, I see that comics has a lot of the same problems that Hollywood does. They want to do stuff that's safe. There isn't a lot of risks. Have you seen DC's lineup of comics?
I would have to disagree, because a lot of the comics that we have seen that suck do not play it safe. They do a lot of stupid shit that no one wants to read. So
Chainsaw Man is insane. Like even the first few chapters, like the character straight up tells that he just wants to get laid.
Yeah,
and he has chainsaws on his head. Of course, the person is making the argument about the comics, like the ones that the Americans make, but still, like the kind of concepts that get popular in Japan, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like even in the name you see like the kind of bizarre concepts, like the show throws at you, and manga like vampires, stands, and sunshine kung fu, that kind of crazy shit.
Yeah, I don't know how woke has ever been safe. I don't think it's the concept of injecting politics is a safe concept, and I don't know how that translates to Hollywood doing the same.
I don't think a show that keeps telling you that capitalism is bad and communism is only a dirty word to label people who aren't insane.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, oh, it's safe to put transracial couples in comics. And I was like, we've had that for decades. Like, no one cares. Like, it's not some weird... If that's all you're doing, then it gets obnoxious. But that's with any piece of content that...
Yeah, that is going to be even worse because Ram 1.5, or how you pronounce that, it's going to get a remake anime. And some people are expecting that the trans community is going to try to destroy it as well. Like, they're just going to latch on.
They're going to complain, oh, it's not trans enough for us. It's like, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a story of...
Not to be. All it is that the guy turns into a girl by water. And back into a guy.
The whole idea is that there's people who died in certain pools and certain shrine, and if you fall into that pool and you take on their appearance, if you fall into another body of water of the same temperature. So it's like, I don't know how that has anything to do with the trans people or the trans medium.
It's nothing. It's just a curse.
It's just a magical thing that happens, and it's all about a rom-com and this guy who has the problem and a bunch of other people around him who may also have the same problem.
Yeah, but kind of funny thing about it is that they have a story around it in Ranma, while but when you see like a Western production do it, it's solely centered around the fact that he has a different gender now. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like, what is the story? What is the purpose of that? That's all they care about.
Are Batman, and don't get me wrong, but even I don't read all the Batmans. Well, I guess you're just a fake fan then, aren't you? No, I'm just a ding-dong that also likes to read manga, and I can't read all the comics. I like to think of comics and manga following the same road as Hollywood, where right now there's so much boring in Hollywood that people are actually starting to watch foreign films more on like streaming services. And if you actually get the common person to read when watching a movie, you know that Hollywood is really screwing up. But
you just said the streaming services allow people to watch foreign films, and Hollywood is screwing up if they're using streaming services because people read the stories that are based off the streaming services they watch?
I need to hear that again. Can we play it again?
Yeah, I was like, what is it? What is logic?
I can't believe that. Okay, let's see.
Following the same road as Hollywood, where right now there's so much boring in Hollywood that people are actually starting to watch foreign films more on like streaming services.
Okay, so then because we have streaming services and Hollywood sucks, people are watching streaming services,
where they can watch foreign movies.
Where they can watch anything, yeah, exactly.
Actually get the common person. When watching a movie, you know that Hollywood is really screwing up. But more importantly, touching back on the whole wokeness issue, that's not the core of the problem. It's not the inclusion of more queer characters. It's really just how it's delivered. Manga...
I'm not understanding what they were trying to say.
He's trying to get around the fact that the calf... They are including like gay people into the scripts of these movies and shows, and why is that a problem? Well, I guess because it's purely done as a fetish and or political activism instead of just moving the plot forward. But
like, it's forced mostly because that's what they do. They just force all the shit down your throat.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is a fetish for these people, but it's really sad because they always cry about like, oh, you think we're all about sex and stuff. Well, the way you're going about it, you want to see it because it gets your rocks off, so you're doing that to yourself. You're kind of stereotyping yourself. And that's the problem with a lot of these force individuals.
I just can't follow what they're saying here. I'm a bit confused, but otherwise, let's just keep going. Maybe they got a point somewhere in this train of thought.
I think is trying to set up
way better
straw
than
man.
how comics deliver. They talk about a gay character being shoved in your face. And a lot of times, they kind of do, especially when you compare it to manga. In manga, for lack of a better way to word this, the queer characters are just there. If the story doesn't revolve around them, then typically they'll let you know that they are not straight or cis, and they'll just keep moving along instead of dwell on it like they do in comics. I know it's not manga, but I usually think of Zombieland Saga whenever I think of an example of this, because one of the characters, we found out eventually, just ended up being transgender. But at least in the story, it was actually like relevant to the plot. And
Is this character actually transgender, or he's just like one of those people who
What anime?
likes dressing up as a girl? Because
What anime is
Japanese people make a difference between these characters.
Wasn't there a character in High School DxD where it's just a boy and he dressed up like a girl, and people mistake? Yeah,
there was, and there was that popular game as well, where
yeah.
a guy pretends to be a girl, but actually it's the opposite.
See, I don't know why. Well, I know why, because it's a fetish for them, but I don't know why they always assume that if you're a guy and you dress feminine, you're not transgender. You're a femboy or a tomboy if you're a girl.
Trying to come out, but the environment doesn't let you do that.
It's really ridiculous.
Okay,
Honestly.
so this character is a not reincarnate, but basically a zombie who has come out as a transgender girl. She's voiced by a female voice actress, and the critics who have praised her inclusion from Zombieland Saga as a positive example of transgender representation, and she's been in a bunch of memes and blah, blah, blah.
That person was trans. How poetic.
Whatever. I don't think that's... if they're saying it's part of the plot or whatever arc they're showcasing on the show, then good for that, but...
I honestly still think that this is just a person who loves to dress up as a girl.
I mean, I'm trying to think of I guess a good example for what this guy wants to see, like a good representation of LGBT. I would say Dragon Mage, or Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid with Taru. I guess you could say that's a good represented, but honestly, it doesn't focus on that. It just mostly focuses on the story. So
the problem is when they say representation, they basically 90% of the time they mean that everyone needs to be gay, everyone needs to be trans, and whatever, and then they bitch that those characters do not come off as natural. And that is the main issue. That seems to be the main issue.
I don't have a problem if there's a character. Well, I would say there's got to be a limit. If your characters, if they're all gay or bi, okay, but why should I care about these characters? Because they're gay? Or is there something fundamentally interested about the character? I don't know, like Spider-Man. I'll just use that as an example. We're interested in Spider-Man's, flaws, journey, and what he goes through because he's a well-interested character. That's what most people want. They don't care if you're whatever.
I'm just reading up on this character, and apparently the real name is Masao. That was a dead name as her real name. It was criticized by Otaku Quests or writer Alicia Haddock, who highlighted the perceived dissonance between the messaging of the anime, which affirmed Lily's identity and her use of the previous name as a setting point reliant on shock factor. Okay. So
it sounds like some comic gobbledygook.
So it's just the journalist trying to make a point.
It's weird because all the positive examples are all from Westerners trying to interpret this anime, and everything else is like, yeah, whatever. It's just an anime. So I've never even heard of this thing. So apparently, it's people liked it, but good for them. Anyway, we're at 2 minutes in.
Character. There wasn't any build up. They didn't really sit on it. They just said it's just there. They tell you their backstory, and you need to let you know, hey, this is a thing. We're gonna use this to progress the plot. After that's done, it's done. We may touch up on it a little bit later, but it's mostly just done. And honestly, that's pretty relevant to. That's pretty similar to how it actually happens in real life. You know, you get to a point where your friend feels comfortable enough around you to where they just go, hey, I have something to tell you. By the way, I am attracted to guys. Or
no, that's not how it works. Guys who are friends with gay guys don't care, nor would they say that. Even with girls, we don't just randomly start talking about girls. We just don't care. If there's
I would just tell him that, like, do you know about AIDS?
if there's a girl at the bar, we might talk about the girl at the bar. And go talk to her. I don't want to. Okay, fine. That's as far as that conversation goes. We do not care. The gay friends we have do not care. This is not. Guys do not talk about this shit.
I mean, I don't go around saying like I'm bisexual. Maybe I'll drop hints saying like, oh yeah, I dated this guy. You know, okay. No one cares. Like,
yeah, it's completely like we're not there to talk about relationships and attraction. Like guys don't do that. Gay guys don't do. Gay guys like men for being men. They don't start acting like effeminate boys or whatever stereotype you think of.
Well, I would say like I've met like feminine guys. But they would pretty much say the same thing, that they don't act like you said. But yeah,
maybe this guy has different experiences. I don't know, but I've met my share of sexually diverse people in Toronto all throughout my career, and the only ones who do this are the activist style people who want their identity to be known like out in the front for whatever reason, and everyone's just like, good for you, can we please get back to work? Like, it's pretty much how it goes. So I don't know, maybe this is a social thing. Maybe guys do this now.
No, I would agree. It's always the activist types, which are narcissistic types, and they always rub all the most superficial stuff about them into your face. Whether it's their sexual orientation, their politics, their fetishes, or they set up things that bait about them, so that you actually you don't ask about it, but that you mention, hey, can you stop doing that really disgusting thing in my face? Thank you.
All right.
And then they get all riled up and go, ah!
I am not a guy. It never really feels like there's a show around it when it's not a specifically queer story. And I feel like that is more accepting than what comics do. If you make a big show around it, then it only reinforces how not normal it is. But it's not just the...
Okay, I'm fine with whatever they're saying, but how the hell does this have anything to do with the topic of why Western comics are losing to... Like, these are all theoretical, like, non-essential commentary. This is all subjective. Like, yeah, maybe. But give me an example of a comic doing that in the Western world and why that sales sucked. You'd be like, oh, great.
Is this just a troon who discovered that manga does trans stories and thinks therefore manga sells better?
I mean, we could talk about how...
Because that's always been there, and it's done better than in the West, because it usually more writes about the characters' experiences and thoughts. Even the bloody hentai is better, where you have these forced fetishes, and it's not the politics stuff. These types project the politics onto it.
Yeah, well, look at Gaiman in the 90s. He wrote a bunch of stories in Sandman with all kinds of homosexual people in them, and no one cared. It was like, yeah, whatever. It's Gaiman. He's doing his thing. Good stories, good to read, fun, cool, awesome things happening.
Yeah.
And
even had a real transsexual in it.
Yeah, it was fine. Well, there's a bunch of other, like the Mike Carey run did a bunch of stuff like that as well, a lot more violently, but they also had those sorts of topics. No one cared. So.
Oh, but Smud, we gotta force it on your face. That's what they want. Like, they don't care about good character writing or any of that shit. They just want to really get it in your face. And yeah,
I know, but that's a very rare thing, because even in the Lucifer stuff and the Sandman stuff, it was always just, well, this character happens to have these relationships, and that's fine. And it was never the focus. No one really cared. The focus is the plot of whatever the plight of these two people are in. And there might be some romance in the end. There might be some family building. Who knows? But it was always about what is the problem of these supernatural beings and how they influence, or how the gods influence the mortals of the day. So punk elements, abstract ideas, people with no job trying to get by, living in the slums, all these things were in these stories. It's like, oh, that's interesting. That's dirty. That's grimy. That's cool. We don't really care about the sexual stuff, because it wasn't about that. It wasn't supposed to be.
this is kind of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's supposed to be, and when you put certain topics that are very complex and rather need focus, if you just put them in the background as some doodad, then it's just there really as a fetish. And with the, I think it was Zombieland Saga, that was the thing that I missed.
Yeah.
I don't remember the details because I didn't watch the thing in its entirety. Isn't my style. But I remember what they made up about that one character was a complete misinterpretation of how that character works, as always. And because if you do that properly, you would have to focus on that character to tell that kind of problem properly. You can't do that as a side thing. It's only these activist types, like this I think it's a non-binary flag on the microphone.
Who knows?
These types just want their oh, I know that thing gland tickled. That's all.
This is kind of
they don't have to issue proper the actual issue, so they don't understand how it would be properly portrayed. So they got the quasi memberberry reaction from any warped variant of that, because they don't know what the real thing is. That makes sense?
All right.
Yeah. But kind of off topic, is he wearing zippers on his ears?
Sure. I don't know.
I guess.
Why would you have that as your earring?
Why would you make that avatar?
Yeah, good point.
Anyway, we're at 3 minutes. Let's keep
why
going.
would you look like this?
Since politics have always been a major part that comics are caught in the same pitfalls as American politics. We're stuck in a dick measuring contest between the two parties, and it sucks. And if the politics suck, then the comics are gonna suck.
How do you know? How do you connect the dots there, sir? What are you talking about?
That is such a strange sentence. Like, there's like a really cool manga called Tomorrow's Joe, and it's basically, it was so popular at the time that it inspired like some people from the Communist Japanese Party, like the youngsters, to occupy a plane and try to hijack it because they got inspired by a comic book. And they also made a funeral for one of the characters when they passed away.
Oh.
The manga. That was insane.
This is. I mean, just think of all of the studios in the West that are in America at the time, like, I don't know, Obama, so 2008 to 2015, 16. Were the politics of the time crappy, and then therefore the Western comics were also crappy? Like, I don't know what he's talking about.
It's all because Obama used the drones to kill people.
What about all the Canadian comics? What about all the South American comics? What about all the European comics during that time? It's like this is silly. The politics suck, therefore the comics suck? What? What if they're all like libertarian and they want like to destroy all the state companies and all this corporatism and decrease taxes? Would therefore the comics suck? We get more comics because the economy would rock.
Lone Wolf and Cub was made when there was a terrible economy in Japan, and it was also during the Cold War. Like that, how much worse can it get?
Yeah, I don't. Is it that maybe I would argue even the books that I read or loved that were created during the Cold War or during Soviet Russia, like Roadside Picnic, they couldn't even publish in Russia. The brothers had to move to other publishers outside of the country just to get their stuff made. That has nothing to do with the content of the story. They just couldn't get published because it's freaking Soviet Russia. This is very odd.
How about The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings? Like The Hobbit
World
was
War
written like before World War II.
Yeah.
And then Lord of the Rings was written in the 50s and 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
What a time to be alive.
Do we blame the gold standard for American money before the 70s?
Yes,
Therefore,
it's all because of Nixon.
Yeah.
Like he got rid of the gold standard. That's all thanks to him.
This is such a dumb thing. Anyway, let's just keep going.
It is insane.
Our politics really suck. But there is something to be said as to why.
Yes, it's all because of Biden.
What?
What? Yeah. What the fuck?
Money printer go brrr.
If we had like lower gas prices,
Yeah.
comics wouldn't be bad.
There you go. If only we had hydrogen fuel cells, we'll be making better comic books.
You know, I love that picture when George Floyd met his end by the knee, because it has a thing in the background where you can see the gas prices at the time.
Oh yeah.
Below like $2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's all I'm using that image for.
Oh, okay.
What a time to be alive.
I blame democracy for how bad our comic books are. All right, whatever.
I blame January 6th for why comics are bad.
Don't just remove themselves from the politics entirely. If they're doing a bad job, then why would they add it at all? The problem.
If you want to watch, read a comic book that doesn't have any politics in it, then read I Some by Eric July. It doesn't have a single ounce of politics in it, and it's extremely boring. Like there's a tiny bit about like politics in might be like a story, but it doesn't have to be preachy. It doesn't have to be like telling you that capitalism is the worst thing ever.
I'm
It
trying to
doesn't
think.
have to be modern politics.
I
I'm
was
trying to
told
think
we have
one.
more right-wing extremism because of climate change, so comics are probably worse because of climate change too.
Oh God, let's not bring that up. Let's try not to.
I'm trying to think of like a comic that has politics in it, but it's written very good. Like I honestly don't know what he wants at this point.
Well, the
I
argument.
would say Watchmen, but unfortunately the author has told me that Rorschach wasn't the hero, so it's an accidental success.
All right. Anyway,
Transmetropolitan was a great political comic.
let's get back to this argument. And again, this has not been an essay form. This has been a stream of consciousness rambling. I don't know what to call this video.
Well, when you're on drugs, then this is the best you can get.
I guess. Yeah.
Is we found out it actually helps sales a lot. Before, when asking a marketing agency, they tell you that you should be as apolitical as possible. You don't want to upset anyone. You want to be just a brand. Now that is not the case. With the whole age of the internet, that's all changed. We want to identify with brands, and thus the brand will make a stance on
No, that's not the fault of the internet, it's the fault of social media and idiots.
something political in order to appeal to their target demographic much easier. It's the major reason why a fast food chain now has a Twitter account talking about how sometimes they fall into a depressed.
No, this was a shitty campaign by Burger King that didn't go anywhere. No one liked it. You can't. Are you seriously saying bad ideas are why comic book publishers want writers to make political statements in their this.
I love
What?
that.
Oh, yes, the
his
bad
long-
idea
long
is the-
tangent ended up about like a fast food chain's
What?
tweet.
The hell?
The bad idea that makes comic book writers write bad political takes is the bad ideology that's behind it.
Yep.
Did you guys remember this dumb, was it sad meals? What were they called? Instead of Happy Meals, they were Burger King made what the hell? I can't remember the name, but they had all these dumb advertisements and they made poetry out of it. It was like the cringiest, silliest, like I just been ghosted, but I have my meal, and I'm like, what is
When
this?
did this came out?
Oh, at least 4 years ago or so. I don't know exactly when, but
Okay, I hadn't seen anything like that, but if it was on Twitter, I probably didn't pay too much.
it was a commercial. It was on TV. It was here and there, and then you could go to.
Oh.
There was like, I think it was Cincinnati or some specific city. They tested this unhappy meal or whatever the hell it was called at a very specific Burger King, and it was dumb. It was like, this is stupid.
To be honest, I wouldn't know because I stopped watching TV like 4 years ago because there was just nothing good on.
I think that's normal for most people. We just don't watch TV anymore.
No, like I used to. Like whenever something on Cartoon Network was good to watch, I would go on there. But with all this propaganda woke shit, no.
So this is a very strange argument to make. You don't do outliers. You do not say this is the cause or this is the effect. And it's working backwards. You're saying, oh, because publishers said this, dumb people working at Burger King did this dumb thing. And you're like, that doesn't correlate. Like, doesn't make any sense.
Episode. I highly doubt any fast food brand has a brain to do that with. It's to make us relate to that, to make us talk about it, to make us think, oh, I know, I'm gonna go to Wendy's because they're the funny one. And it works a lot of the time. People feel more comfortable going to Wendy's because it has the reputation of being the nicer,
No. I go to Wendy's because they have fresh meat. They do Baconators. They give me 6 pieces of bacon, and it tastes good. Whereas if you go elsewhere, it's frozen beef. I can get that anywhere. I don't need to buy a burger to do that. Nowadays, it's more expensive, but still, yes, Wendy's has good meals in terms of quality.
I would argue that Wendy's and Chick-fil-A has like fresh meat because do you have Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, we do.
in
We do.
Canada?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's Americans have all kinds of options for food, and the big names are just not good because they pump out so much crap, and they have to. It's about a matter of quantity, not quality. Whereas Chick-fil-A, these other, like, was it Five Guys? I don't know, the not Five Guys, Shake Shack.
In-N-Out Burger?
Is it In-N-Out Burger where they have like a chef, like an actual chef who knows how to make gourmet food?
Yes.
Make
they
it.
also refuse to extend because then they cannot have fresh produce.
Yeah, their quality strictness is very high. So you get these options in the States, and you could argue, what's that? Was it existentialist Arby's Twitter account? They're funny, but that's not why I would go to Arby's back in the day. I go to Arby's because that's where you get really cheap roast beef, and it was just roast beef and horseradish on a Kaiser, and that was it. I was like, perfect. That's all I want.
I just go to like, I don't know, like Chick-fil-A's or Wendy's or even Hardee's just to get like decent burgers because McDonald's and even Burger King, even though I like Burger King, it does not taste like the 3 places I went. Like there's a quality difference.
Yeah, it's
Why do you go
obvious.
to Burger King if you don't like it?
Huh?
Well, Burger King has the Whopper. Whoppers are actually pretty decent, but
Yes.
There's all these
As
tastes
long
we
as
have.
you press the Whopper button.
Well, yeah, there's all these options that people have, and I would not argue. I go to a fast food joint because their social media makes me laugh. That's silly. I would, if I really like going to Wendy's and they have the best deals and the best 2-for-1 or the Baconator Junior's on sale or whatever, I'd still go there even if they sucked at everything else. I do not care. I do not care how woke they are. I do not care how many lineups there are. If it's buy one, get one free, I will wait and save money because they're just down the street for me.
I think this is just a very political line of thinking and projecting that on others.
I don't know what this person's
That's the
trying to
only way I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a very, these people are dumb and therefore no one likes them. It's like, no, if the mechanic comes by and fixes my car, I don't care if he's beating his wife on the weekend. Like, I don't care about all these superfluous stuff, what his social media is like. None of this bothers me.
I was watching like a couple of this guy's video, and I don't know where I stopped with this video, but throughout his entire video, it just seems like he goes on these political rants. Like I don't know which video it was, but he went on a rant that his mom dead named him.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here like, wow, don't care. Tell me about what this video is saying. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the Foamy the Squirrel video, probably, but yeah, it just seems like that this guy is, I don't know, a tool for these people, these type of people that watches this content, where he just...
It's just an attention whore that whines on the internet.
Interestingly enough, it's almost like an inverse, because he's saying that, there's these dumb things that people do in politics, and woke is one of them, and he's like, yeah, this is stupid. And you're like, okay, but that's like 10% maybe of the problem of comic books or whatever. It's such a minor issue. There's more going on in the world of selling paper in book format to kids these days. So what's the real reason manga is somehow outselling Western comics? I want to know.
Place in your head, even. And a massive topic that they will weigh in on is LGBT representation. Manga also has plenty of pandering to the LGBT community, but they did it smarter. What they did was they just made...
I wouldn't call it pandering.
That's the wrong
word to use. Like, what they have done, Manga, is that it's naturally in the story. Even if, like, I absolutely reject, like, gay and all other kinds of things, but it's another thing that if a story handles it, that it's not in your face.
Yeah.
And it's just a part of the story, and it's never like, oh, anyway, I like to suck dicks. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's no different.
Your part in the story?
It's no different than any other property. Like when you go to a manga website and they have like the list of genres or properties, and one of them is like harem anime. It's no different than having yaoi or gay stories. It's just an element of the story. No one really cares. It's not a big deal. It only becomes an issue if that's all it is. Like if you go to a fantasy isekai and it has a harem in it, and the whole story is about this guy getting wives, I'm going to be bored out of my mind, because who gives a crap? I want to see this guy deal with his personal issues, deal with a problem he has to overcome, not I get the next elven bitch. Like, I don't, like, what the hell? That's going to be...
Even Redo of Healer has a story, even though how utterly disgusting that show is.
Yeah.
There's one yaoi anime that I did watch that I thought was pretty bad. It just felt like it went by way too fast, not to develop why this guy is attracted to this other guy. It just seems like
Naruto.
No.
Okay.
The Strange Bite. Hang on. It was just really dumb. Like, I thought it went by extremely fast, and I'm like, okay, I know nothing about these characters. Why is he attracted to them? I don't know. Like, we didn't...
That means you watched the hentai.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
you watch porn.
That was the anime that I watched, and I was just like, well, this was a waste of my time. I'm gonna go watch something else.
There was an anime that finished, I think it was 12 episodes last season, called Unnamed Memory. And the manga is its own thing, and the web novel is its own thing. And one of those episodes went by so quickly, actually 2 episodes in succession. And I swear there were about 3 double crosses within the span of like 10 minutes. I was just like, holy crap, what is... Like, they're just pumping this thing through. And the title of the story, Unnamed Memory, makes no sense until you get to the last episode of this thing. And then you go, oh, this is brilliant. And it took that long to get there through all the crap because they wanted to build up the relationships and like all the plot points were all just to get the relationships going. It's like, why did you start with that? Why don't you start with the main issue and then have a story of them learning to deal with this conundrum? So there's all these ideas that manga authors have that they don't know how to express even in manga. So that when it gets translated to anime or, translated from the web novel, you get this hacked version of it. There's something there, or else they wouldn't have gone through all the effort. And the publisher of the anime or the people involved who signed the check to say, okay, this is worth my time, knew there was something there, and even they screwed it up. So it's like there's this gem in the rough there, but they just don't know how to get to it. That's not uncommon, but it's still something that makes you go, why did they do it this way, despite having all this talent and all these people and all these fans? Because no one's going to buy or adapt a manga or a web novel that no one reads. It has to really, there has to be some financial reason to do so. So and they still couldn't get it clearly until you get to the last episode. What's that one with the anime? What, the guy who's always prepared? Like he's overtly prepared for every fantasy monster he has to come across, and it's like I'm going to buy like 1,000.
Hero is overpowered by overly cautious.
Yes, yeah. I think it's and it's only to the last episode that it becomes a drama. And you're like, whoa, oh, now I get it, because the whole thing's been a joke for him, how goofy he was. And then the last episode, it's like, no, he's like this because what happened in the past and why he's caring for his party so well. It's like, oh, I didn't need all this goofy crap to get to that. You just give me one of those episodes maybe, and then give me the next one, and then give me a drama, and then work in the comedy later. So there's all these opportunities to tell good stories, but it's filled in with, the readers like
that one. It works because it's just that inverted.
It does a 180, and you're like, what the hell was that about? Not to say that's bad.
I think that hit well.
Oh, it was fun.
But you can't do these things only once, because if you do a second season, it will be all serious.
It's a different story. Kind of like the halfway point of Trigun, where it went from comedy to drama. Although that you could argue was done well.
It was.
Yeah, I would
well
say
done.
I would say so.
Yeah. Anyway.
Its own genre. They don't try to convince it to be more accepting. They just make stories for queer people, or also people who fetishize queer relationships. That's also, you can't really avoid that.
You mean queer people? Because nobody else fetishizes that.
Yeah.
So you can't really, that's also going to be wrapped in there. I mean, sure, sometimes you'll have representation in mainline manga series. Like, I heard of what's happening in One Piece. Don't quote me on that. Yamamoto,
God.
I think.
No.
No.
This bitch is female, and no trans thing is involved. The author has said so. What are you talking about?
This kind of shows what this person basically thinks. I have little knowledge, so I go off by what I'm told by others, and then I spread it out.
While making a video, not a live stream. If on the live stream you say this, okay. But you're making a video. You have time to research what's actually going on, and you don't.
What's the term for the people like this? They're not fans. They're voyeurs.
They are tourists.
Tourists. Thank you. This person is a tourist, as far as I can tell.
I don't read One Piece. I'm sorry.
No shock.
Bridget from Guilty Gear. I know that's a fighting game. That's not the same thing, but it's a thing. But
That is also like a fucking sad story.
Yeah.
When
When
a company is like catering towards Westerners and they finally admit that, okay.
In a way, I'm glad this
I wouldn't
person...
even say Westerners. I would just say these specific ideologues, because this ideology is trying to creep into Japan as well.
Well, this person either is a lazy tranny, or they actually, in a healthy way, they don't care. They like what they like, and they just happen to believe in this philosophy. And therefore, they're not like, oh, I got to read everything transsexual in manga. Like, that's good, because it's like you have other interests. It doesn't define you entirely, although apparently visually and physically it does. But
Yeah, but being so lazy and having so little knowledge to be falling for all this ideological crap, like this non-binary nonsense.
Well, in that case, they're just lazy, which is fine. You know, you could be lazy and be a weirdo. That's totally fine. I don't care.
Yeah, but that exactly would, if you had a serious therapist, and the serious therapist would hear about these things, those would be differential diagnosis reasons for saying, you probably don't have this condition, you just have crap in your head.
This is true. I agree. And you'd get like a motivational helper to, you know, see how you do every week and with your goals and track your achievements that week. And, oh, maybe I'll go for a walk today, or maybe I'll do this on my checklist. Yeah, that's what this person needs. If they're that lazy to not do basic searches and understand them, we could argue they're either lazy, they're unintelligent, they just don't care, they're too busy to do other things. I don't know. But so far, it's been 5 minutes. We don't know what they're talking about. They're not giving us any reason why manga is outselling Western comics outside of potentially politics bad. We don't know exactly what that means. And there's a bunch of references to games and other manga she doesn't know. You know,
Honestly, I would just say, like, I mean, this is what I do, but go outside and mow the lawn. You get plenty of time in the sun, and, you know, it's good for you.
Sure.
At least in my opinion, because, you know, yes, mowing the lawn is important, but it's very therapeutic for me to some extent. So
I would argue you could destroy your lawn, like dig it all up and lay some concrete down and, you know, make nice tiles. And then you have, you know, 25 years of good backyard concrete. Anyway.
yeah.
But they have those characters as characters. They're not the queer characters like they do in comics.
That's fair.
I appreciate comics trying to make being gay normal, but making it a big deal happens to make it not normal. It goes against the normalization of
normal.
all of it. I said it once and I'll
What was
say
that?
Normalization.
idea.
Bunch of text on the screen and it's gone. Like, don't do that.
Or some allusion to
How
Sonic
about we
Boom.
try to check that out again?
All right.
Can I even ask, what's with these type of videos where they show an image and it just gones in a brief second? What is their deal with that?
It's I don't know the term for that, but basically, if an image is only shown for one frame, it's a psychological tool. Like you can write anything on it, and like your brain recognizes it, but you don't know like what the fuck was going on.
Your brain recognizes it and processes it, but you don't do it consciously. So basically, it's meant to influence you under the radar.
I just think it's a very, I don't know, like, it's just a stupid little gimmick that I just see a lot of these YouTubers do all the time, and I'm just like, it's not funny if I can't read what you're showing me on the screen.
No. That thing was from a joke in the show that this was subtly referencing, as if the type of I'm committing that crime or something.
All right.
This kind of
It's
joke
one of
only
these things
works
where
if
if
it's
you
only
know
just a
if you
visual
know the
image.
scene, then it's funny. If you don't, then you go, what the hell was that?
All right. Here's the thread knot for the 5. Thank you, sir. McDonald's, you having a bad day, buy a Happy Meal and cheer up a little. I guess a child could be having a bad day. Burger King, having a bad day, buy an unhappy meal and feel even worse. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that weird marketing campaign was about, but it didn't work very well. I can't see an adult buying a Happy Meal, but maybe they like the toys. Who knows?
Oh, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but that was actually a thing. I don't know. I think like back in 2020, I think McDonald's made like a fucking Happy Meals for adults, and
It
I
was
think
something
Matt,
like that.
yeah, and I think Matt Walsh covered it, but I was just sitting here like, what?
Unless they're proper size, like 4, 5, 6 ounces burgers, then I don't know what the hell they're going to fill up on.
It's two things. It's one, widening the audience. Two, the kids who had Happy Meals 20 years ago can now have adult Happy Meals for nostalgia. It's about member berries, nothing else.
If it gives me a coupon and it's $2 off,
They brought
I'll buy it
an
anyway.
extra for that. They brought back Happy Meal toys from 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's weird. Okay. Anyway.
Comics trying to make being gay normal, but making it a big deal happens to make it not normal. It goes against the normalization of all of it. I said it once and I'll say it again. Straight people, you don't have to come out to your parents as straight, but for some reason we have to come out to our parents as gay. So
Yeah,
long as
because
that sort of
that's
stigma.
because that's 3% of the population, and that's a liberal estimate. Yeah, it's not normal. It will never be, because if it ever becomes normal, the species dies out. And then
And
that also means there
parents
will never be any more gay people.
Additionally, parents have certain expectations, so this is kind of a way of breaking those. That is why
Parents
you
like the
have
idea
to
of
come
having
out in a way.
Yeah, parents like the idea of having grandkids.
Of having a healthy family, or in general, a family. So.
Yeah, and you not getting stupid STDs by butt sex.
Never going to be properly thought of as sprinkle in some of the fabulous here and there in our stories, but you just don't point a finger to it. You just have it there. It's kind of how it should be, unless it's a story that actually revolves around the queer experience. In that case, you should point a finger to it because that's kind of the point of the story. Otherwise, it should just be accepted that it's a thing. It should be addressed. It should be like, hey, this is a thing, but it's still just a person. They're still.
Who are you to tell me what I should think? That's very authoritarian of you.
What they're saying isn't wrong. I mean, I'm fine with what they're saying. The focus of the story is whatever the focus is. And if you're going to have different characters, let them just be there. Don't make a big deal about it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's fine.
And the way that was done naturally was in the opening chapters of Planets, where the dying of petrification scientist guy in a wheelchair turns out to have been gay and never could fulfill any life happiness. That was basically that. Also a short thing.
Oh, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's still just a person. We need to move on. Many people who are LGBT really kin Harley. She's bi, but her coming out felt very real and normal.
It was forced by the writers.
That is the worst depiction of Harley Quinn.
Did this person read the comic?
People just go back to like the Batman animated series instead.
Everything I've heard so far from this person is the magical claims about all these characters by the activist types. These are not original thoughts. None of these are original thoughts. This is just regurgitation to the audience for clicks. Have a video, get clicks, say the things that the assumed audience wants. So this might be an actual grifter of the kind that might, sounds a bit strange, might be on that political side, but due to the laziness has no thoughts of his or her own, and thus just copies the stuff.
I've never encountered a lazy grifter. It's kind of I haven't read the comic, but that's what people say. Like, what?
I mean, Smud, she didn't even read like One Piece, and yet she's like, oh, this is a trans character, even though I didn't read the manga. And it's like, yeah, I don't believe you.
I mean, with One Piece, I do not think that you need to go through everything, but it would be nice if you have at least some idea of what you are talking about.
Well,
it's not that difficult to read up on singular characters.
I mean, if this person's going to do
what I mean.
This kind of research, yeah, like read the manga or whatever it is you're looking at, like just so you have context.
All right, here's a few super chats. We'll get back to the video. Here's from Legacy at the $4.99. To show how I don't any self-respect, I read a 2022 Iceman run where in every issue Bobby makes out with multiple men, even nude in bed. Was that after the brain changing by Jean Grey, or how does that work? I don't remember. 2022.
That was probably the Marjorie Liu run.
All right. Yeah, no, it's hard to remember exactly what happened to him and what they stuck with in that iteration. So, But yeah, I actually read the original. So $5 from Frog Jupiter just arrived. Performs physiognomy check. Conclusion: whatever this is, diet consists of seed oils and gay frog water. Fluoride in the water not helping too. Okay. I don't know what to make of this person. So far, it's all just been anecdotal references from other people, and they haven't given us a reason why the manga is better than the Western comics outside of the politics bad, which is like, sure. That's one.
Yeah, because these are not the topics that make the big sales.
Yeah, that's like a symptom. There's got to be something else going on here. You can't just say politics bad. Like Trump was bad in 2016 for 4 years, therefore the politics for the sales have been bad. It's like, what? What are you talking about?
He stole the election from Hillary Clinton for 4 years.
You could argue tariffs, because that's actual things that affected the world at the time, and everyone was like, what the hell? I got to spend an extra $100 to buy American steel? Like, what does that mean? So,
Relatable. She realized she was in an abusive relationship with a crappy guy, and then there was someone else who was a better fit for her. It just so happened that better fit was a woman. It's not even entirely about seeing queer characters.
Yeah, because she's a broken mind. She latches onto anyone who...
Yeah, finish.
No, you go.
It was basically making a lifelong friend into a romantic interest because because some shippers were demanding it. That is stupid.
A psychotic lesbian duo. Wow.
And they showed the image from the show, not the actual comic where that happens, which is like, oh, did you read the comic? Did you get the actual frame? No? Got to reference
Wasn't Harlequin specifically created for the animated series?
Yes.
I think in the original,
the 90s animated series.
That's the origin. And that's the only version that counts.
So the logic here is that an abusive relationship turns you gay.
No, that is...
So gay people are the product of abuse.
Like, I don't know. I think this is just stupid. Like, it doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, or whatever. Like, if you're in an abusive relationship, get out of it. Does it... I hate this narrative that they always do. Like, oh, if you're gay, you're in a healthy relationship. No, have you seen actual relationship? It could be a mess.
It is interesting because
getting out of an abusive relationship is not easily solved by just saying, "Oh, just get out of it." That's the stupidest thing you can say.
Well, with Harley Quinn specifically, yes, she's probably lost her mind. She's also a PhD in psychiatry, which is bizarre. And you can't have supervillains that are in a relationship that aren't abusive. You can tell that story, but they didn't want to do that, and which would have been a lot more interesting to have a nuance with the Joker actually having family values or some sort of concern for his henchmen and having a relationship and going, no, this is important to me, but for whatever reason they break up. Like, they could have told that story, and that would have been, oh, there's actual other more important reasons to not be in a relationship with a supervillain. So that could have worked, but they went the easy route. Oh, he just hits me. Okay.
Stories. It's more about seeing them. Go to the manga section at Barnes & Noble. You'll find the gay shit right next to the shonen series. But people who don't resonate with the LGBT stories don't need to worry about accidentally getting that in their shonen. With comics, it can be luck of the draw sometimes.
Now, the thing that annoys me about this, and that is the thing about the big bookstores here as well, is that stuff should be in the 18+ section, not right next to the kids manga.
I agree.
It's the same in the public library here.
Yeah.
And this is what people mean when they're shoving gayness in their face. It's not that they're homophobic, although a lot of them are. It's that they're upset that they didn't get the story they paid for. It's like buying a fantasy book, but...
I mean, I am homophobic, so I take that as a compliment.
And if you don't like horror... No, hang on, let me backpedal on that, because I just compared LGBT stories to horror, and that's probably not a good comparison. It's like a fantasy story, but you...
people who don't like same-sex genitalia rubbed in their face probably find it pretty horrific to imagine that or see images of that.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with a phobia.
Or the genre of horror. We're talking different things. So
Yeah. You want your porn, consume your porn. It's your problem. But don't
consume
demand
porn.
that other
Stop
people
it.
like your porn.
Stop it. Don't ever look at porn. That's a solution. And suddenly you're gonna have less gay people.
A fantasy story, but you get romance. And if a romance is not your cup of tea, then you're not gonna vibe with it. I know very much so. Me being me, sometimes I just want a good old fantasy.
That's
Is
not
it
you.
nice?
you're a microphone? What the?
No, he was referring to the non-binary flag, which is a completely made-up thing by the communists in order to lure more people into castrating
And
themselves.
then said like, oh, well, about me. I look at fantasy. That's where these people belong.
Oh, that's an interesting Freudian slip. Nice spot.
A lot of LGBT representation? Sure, I like it. I don't necessarily
Because
need that
they don't
there.
belong in
Sometimes I want to
reality.
just distract myself from the everything that
escapism.
is this and just have escapism.
So this is also the microphone. So you are that, and you want to escape that. That's fascinating. Why?
Can I see that again? Because that was whiplash.
LGBT want to just distract myself from the everything that is this and just have escapism. Of course, it's never going to
That's
be the
weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
They are the thing, but they want to escape the thing. I don't.
Yeah, that tells me you have no dysphoria. What the hell are you doing misrepresenting actual trans people?
Is it kind of like I'm tired of my job and I just need a vacation? Is your job to be trans? Like what? Maybe it is.
Well, it seems that way.
I mean, to a lot of
You
these
know-
people, it is a job for them.
Oh God.
Yeah, look at
It
philosophy
comes
too.
from I think it comes from the friend circles and stuff like that. These people surround themselves with certain friends, quote unquote, and then when they think that maybe that's not it, they are trapped because they would immediately be jumped on if they said, "Hey, maybe that wasn't the thing." How dare you invalidate?
Yeah, I
stuff
was.
like that.
I'm suddenly.
It's like in the 90s when a guy had long hair, it was, haha, you look like a girl, and it was bullying. And now it's, oh, you have long hair, you look like a girl, you should transition, and then they do it.
That's why we need to bring back bullying.
I suddenly remember. Was it last year or the year before when Milo Jokanovic came out said I'm not gay anymore? You're like, really? that was quite a jump. And he let go of his gay lover. He threw his ring in the ocean or whatever, and he moved to Florida.
Gay people do have these phases.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's like, wow, I didn't know you could.
Because there are moments when it's the same with gender dysphoria, where you realize, yeah, this is actually not life fulfilling because this
Being
thing
genetic
that you're stuck in prevents you from having basic life fulfillment of family, of children, and all of that wonderful stuff. And so they go into
Makers
these moments.
see much of a shakeup when it comes to series like Superman or Batman. They aren't going to risk angering the readers when it's their cash cow. That's one of the times they'll actually try to stay out of politics as much as possible. But a series dedicated to Poison Ivy? Sure, why not? Superman? Yikes, probably not. Superman's son? Sure. Don't get me wrong, it hurts that we have to make LGBT stories into its own genre.
No, but that Superman Son thing was a disgusting self-insert of the author, and it made absolutely no sense. It was just disgusting and full of political garbage that made no sense either. Because Superman is now protesting against global warming with a placard, instead of just flying around and ice breathing.
Was that literally the whole comic about?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a
Yes.
plot about him going on an activist rally.
You know, I
While
sometimes,
the world is ending behind him with monsters and such.
you know,
You could almost say that Western comics, American comics, are not simply failing because of all the gay stuff. That is an additional reason, but mainly because it's so damn brain dead. And people who are not caught by the fetishes don't want to read brain dead stuff. Even if the fetish wasn't there, they wouldn't read it because it's brain dead.
I don't know who the YouTuber was, but he basically just said, I'm gay, but I watch like manga or anime because this kind of shit is not shoved into my face. I don't want to see my sexuality 24 hours so you can pander to me. I just want to watch good shit. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much everyone in the world.
We're never going to be accepted. But the point is, we are a minority with a very unique experience, that of which the majority of people will not understand. And
you're not part of the minority, you are a faker. You are a tourist of manga and video games, apparently, as much as you are a tourist of trans stuff.
Make someone accepting people, at least not in the way that comics have been doing it. Changing someone's mind requires them to be willing to change their mind, and that requires a lot of work and a lot of patience.
Oh, you mean brainwashing?
Changing someone's mind is an art. Do not get rid of the LGBT characters in comics. That's not what I'm saying at all. But learn how to deliver those stories in a manner that doesn't
These are out
interesting is that, like, let's just use the same techniques as manga is doing. Okay, how do they get successful? They get, like, examples from real life. And surprisingly enough, in real life, you don't really see these scav things. You can't really force these things into a story.
Yeah, you need smart and empathetic writers, and that's what these narcissists aren't. They can't be that, ever.
We don't need any more of these cultural commentators that suddenly I'm gonna, like, figure it out. Okay, I'm just gonna use the good stuff.
The problem that seems to be there with the comics stuff is that, the rest of the world is not California during the Pride Parade.
You mean all year round?
Yes. Yeah, that too. But that is how quite a lot of those writers seem to just perceive the world. That's just not correct.
Kind of like everything else. Even the shows that they are adapting, I have talked about this with Smart, like at the beginning, that the new Fallout show, it's the Fallout universe where the civil rights movement and any of these, like, diversity shit never happened. Yet you see one of the protagonists having a black wife and then having an Indian guy with a British accent as the director, even though, like, none of those events ever happened where suddenly there's a surge of immigration to Western countries and such, because none of that thing was normalized, because it was even more harder on those things.
Well, that means that they believe that in the past racism never happened.
Kind of facts.
It means that they believe that racism apparently never happened in the past, which means that they don't really have a hold in the present, because if it didn't exist in the past, all of a sudden, then how can it be here now?
But the Fallout universe, like, racism was so bad, as in, like, the suspicion that you might be a Chinese spy, that they put there was a POW camp for the Chinese to have military experiments, and they put Asian Americans in the same camp because they just didn't care. Like, they wanted to make sure that none of them were an insider.
All right.
And then you're expecting me that, like, this isn't, like, a common theme with the Hollywood writing.
Well, I'm still getting a very generic overview of information, and it's not even accurate. It's just sort of jumping around topics, and we're almost halfway done. Actually, we're more than halfway done. And the only thing we get is that if the politics are bad, the comics are bad, which I don't even understand.
And Japan is doing it well. The comics not.
Apparently
because it's in your face, unless it's Harlequin.
I'm guessing the parliamentary system of Japan is so good. That's why all of their manga is so good. That's the logic you have to follow. That's what this person believes. So China, the Chinese Communist Party doing a fantastic job. That's why all their manga is great. South Korean, whatever, I don't even know what system of government they've got. It's amazing.
They had a cult a few years ago.
Oh, shit. Oh god.
I mean,
That was fun.
I would just argue that the only reason why anime and manga are doing so well is because they're not being restricted on what they can and can't create. Because here in America, for some reason, you're restricted to not create certain things because we don't want to offend people. I feel like that's mostly the biggest problem with what's been coming out in Hollywood is that no one is allowed to be creative if it offends them at any way, and that's where I think most of it is just coming from.
Well,
and yeah, mostly bad writing, but
they,
that as well.
They didn't bring up the Comics Code Authority, which, I mean, no one really cares about, but it's still a thing, and you can go back to what publishers believe in, what they can and can't do. So they didn't really talk about that or argue that there's limitations, considering that their argument has nothing to do with that or has to do with whatever wokeism. But there's no central thesis here, so we're trying to transfer or trying to translate what the hell these people are trying to say to us in a logical fashion, but I just don't know. Anyway, let's go through a super chat and a donation. We'll get back to the video. Here's Boog. Hey, Boog. The reason manga is beating comics is because it's printed cheaply and has a wide range of genres to read from. It also has endings. Datrun is dumb. That's a fair statement. It's an economic reason.
Most American comics, like the big one, Marvel, DC, they're comparatively cheap as well.
Black and white, for
different from manga, but compare it to the hardcover Franco-Belgian stuff.
Oh yeah, even in South Korea, the biggest names are like Solo Leveling. They're all full page, full color. The whole thing has been that way, but that's after the writer has signed a contract with the publisher saying, "I've already done the work. We just got to get that into print." And they see the work and they go, "Great, we'll do it." So anyway, here's one from Gingaman. I don't know why you're giving me money, Gingaman, but thank you, sir. There was a time between late 70s and early 2000s where American comics mostly had a noticeable spike in good quality, but then they started to go down again by late 2009, around when Batman Arkham Asylum came out. That would lend into the concept that Obama was a really bad time for politics in America, and therefore the theory that politics bad, comics bad is true. I don't know. It's something like that. We have to figure this out.
Obama was the Smiler from Transmetropolitan.
He just drone striked everyone. No one knew who that was.
Including American citizens.
Oh,
like,
God.
Cool. Exactly like the Smiler. Read Transmetropolitan.
I was going to say that, but okay, I don't want to bring that up. Anyway, 9 minutes.
Target audience wants. Clearly, it's a market that should be appealed to. The existence of Pride Month sales is proof of that. But in comics, it's approached wrong. You can't blame them for making certain characters bisexual when making the son of Superman bisexual leads to massive sales, so long as it pisses off enough people to get major media.
What?
Did it reach like massive sales? Because it has instantly been forgotten as well.
This is so dumb.
This is Pride Month. I want to see an uptick in anything this month for comics. Just show me the data.
This is the kind of people that I hate. Like I've talked to trans and gays, and they say they hate these kind of people that just wants to see this shit everywhere. Like, oh my god.
Because it's Pride Month, therefore people buy more gay comics? What? No.
That is so stupid.
Show the actual numbers,
please.
Not some tweet from some dudes.
Show me some sales figures. Show me some campaigns, coupons, buy one get one free. I don't care. Show me. Prove it.
Tyler Preston says it didn't even reach issue 20 before being cancelled. 20 is pretty good. They usually cancel them before 10 at this in these past years.
The usual run is like 8. They want to get at least 2 months or half a year, depending.
So did Superman get AIDS from this? Or is that how it ended?
Super AIDS. Yeah.
Super AIDS, yeah.
All right.
Media attention. I think the smartest thing that DC did was put the pride flag on specifically LGBT stories, because that aligns a lot more with what manga is doing. But the whole wokeness conversation aside, that's
That
not the
made no
only
sense.
reason why comics are failing. It is hard to find comics. You can only find trade paperbacks.
Are you serious right now?
It is hard to
It's
find
not
comics.
hard to find comics. Like even like you can say whatever you want about DC and Marvel, they still print out like half works that get them the sales. It's just like there's like a small percentage that is just so loud about these terrible woke books as well.
Also, you can find comics. Like there are some good ones out there. You just have to look. But
It's
only
called
looking-
a comic book store.
Yeah.
There aren't too many of them around.
Yeah,
There aren't too many of them, but
you can
you will
find.
find a lot of comics in a comic book store.
They went digital a long time ago, so if you just want to buy it and download them, you can do that.
Yeah, you can use the wonderful invention that's called the internet that he talks about so
I
much.
not downloaded. I bought 2 comics that I wanted, and yeah, I've been enjoying myself.
What a weird. I don't know.
I just type in the title in Google and it suddenly
Yeah.
just shows it to me.
Would
It's
you
so nice.
Would you like to buy this? It's like, yes. Oh, here's the app. Download. Okay, here's the transaction.
It's also really
Page
strangely
1.
sorted.
Page 2.
All right. Well,
What is this? What is this shelf? Because is this a private shelf? Because there's still a book in foil, and another one. But
This
there's
is
also
a
in the middle
picture
is some
from Barnes and
Pathfinder
Nobles.
stuff.
must be
It's
theirs.
just nonsense.
It's got to be theirs. Who knows?
in Barnes & Noble. If you want floppies, you have to hunt down a local comic shop. Major retailers do not and will not carry floppies.
Go on Facebook. What's the Facebook
Marketplace.
Yeah, you'll find all kinds of people selling comics. It's easy.
I mean, I have a comic book, not in town, but I have a somewhat comic book store that has these type of comics. I just need to drive all the way up there just to go buy them. Problem solved.
Yeah, the Toronto has this mecca called Silver Snail downtown that has been there forever, and they have done everything comic book and manga and anime, Japanese anime related. So, I mean, they're not dead, but if you're serious and really like that stuff, you can find it. It's not that expensive.
Is to manage floppies. Like, displaying them is difficult. You have to have special customized shelves. They don't want to deal with.
Are you, what? No, you don't. You just have a box like you just showed, and it's you put in the box, you put an alphabetical number on it, and that's it. You're done.
If you have special issues that are worth displaying, you display those. You, of course, don't display all of those you have because you would need several football fields then.
Yeah, my comic shop back in the day, they would have was it two by twos, which is like 1 2 1 2 1 2, and they went 5 down. There were 2 of those for that month, and they would just put the comic in the sleeve, and then behind that there'd be a stack of that comic, and you just take from behind the stack, and that's it. So no, this is basic. Like, you know, when you buy candy bars, they come in that box. The box just pops up. It's kind of like that. Same idea.
Make your target audience come to you. You problem with what's happening with floppy sales. The only reason floppies even really exist now is because we have grading companies and there's a whole collectability aspect to it all, which, so long as there's people like that, we can sucker money out of collectors. Do you really need all 5 different covers of one issue? No,
if you're a collector,
but people buy them anyway. I see people walk into my local comic shop all the time like, hey, I got this.
Yeah, that's the special customers. That's not your average customer. Do you understand the difference? Just like there's whales in Magic the Gathering and Warhammer who buy stuff for $300 a month. And then you have normal people, relatively speaking, who don't do that. Don't conflate them.
alternate cover for you. I'm sure you're gonna like a lenticular. Whoa, who cares? Floppies, in terms of sales, are a risk. It's common for an issue to run in the red until the trade paperback comes out. Manga doesn't have this problem. They tried releasing individual chapters like in Shonen Jump magazine or in like Dark Horse Comics, the one once upon a time, and that didn't work. So they switched it to single chapters being released digitally, and they sold volumes. Volumes are literally just trade paperbacks, but for manga. Trade paperbacks are omnibuses of floppies. Volumes are omnibuses of chapters. And sometimes volumes will have omnibuses of volumes. We see it all the time. You just get more for your money with manga every time. But not only that, look at how they set up where you see manga compared to comics. And yes, I'm going to hyper focus on Barnes & Noble because like, what other major book retailers are there? Not a lot. Borders is gone. Barnes & Noble is on the rise. Barnes & Noble is becoming like Target where like a bunch of people, including me and my friends, will just go there and just hang.
I'm getting tired of this.
Yep.
What is he talking about?
I have no idea. I was about to pause the video to even ask the same question.
I don't think like it's about the topic anymore. Who the fuck cares? Like, wait.
It's just the whole thing is just rambling.
The real reason manga is beating comics because Barnes & Nobles display them differently?
And Barnes & Nobles is on the rise.
Really? Let me check their stock. I don't think so, but okay.
So
he could just say like the reason they're not doing well is because of the fucking writing.
Let's do the final minute. How about
this?
That
Is so like all you gotta do if you have insider information, the 51% of the cause, and you say this is the real reason. You give me the reason, and then you back up your claim. That's all you gotta do. You don't just start rambling on about anime, which is tangentially related. You don't start rambling on about, I don't know, whatever they were talking about, the politics. That was kind of silly. Just give me the reason. All right, we're at, was it 15, 19? Okay.
Yeah, final minute.
And make stories that are good, obviously. That should be gone.
Shut up.
No, you can't ask that of the activists because they can't write that. It's discriminatory.
Make it good,
guys. The
but,
pizza.
Like, don't make it bad.
When you open a pizzeria, you gotta make good pizza. All right, it's how it's done. You don't make good pizza, no one's gonna buy your pizza. Your pizza shop goes down. All right, that's how you do it. All right, okay, good.
But boss, how do you make good pizza?
Times were way better when people like that, instead of becoming brain-dead political activists, instead did hair metal bands.
Yeah.
I don't know how simple he thinks making a good story is, because I've seen process of writing a story at any kind, any way good, is hard work. So it's not just simple, go make good stories.
Something that is entirely unrelated to him.
Yeah, it's when I was talking about the web novel style of writing, it was like 70% or 60% dialogue. I would not argue those are good stories, but they are designed for a artist to take those stories and visualize them in a manga format that tells a story better, because it gives them the freedom to say, okay, I'm going to have an action scene here, I'm going to have a thought bubble there. So it's a lot different than reading a book, of course, when you read these web novels that manga is based off. So it's kind of like a script for an artist, whether the artist is the actual writer or they hire an artist and a colorer and they get the publisher involved and they're going to do a full page spread like they do in South Korea. And they get millions of people to watch these things. It's because there's a great relationship of storytelling between the two, the writer and the artist. Sometimes the same person, but usually it's two people. So it's hard to adapt, but it's really easy if it's mostly dialogue. And this is very similar to the opposite of the Marvel method, where the artist would come up with all the ideas and draw them out, and then Stan Lee would come in and start filling in the details of what the hell's going on. So that's, again, the same idea, just in reverse. So they're not doing that. They're not doing this technique in the West. I can tell you that much. And if they were, we get different examples.
I know whenever I write down a character, I'll share it to people and see what they have to say, and they'll say like, change this, change that.
Yeah,
it's helped me quite a lot. Like I'm not a writer writing a long book, but I can understand how writing like a bio about a character, it's hard. It takes a lot of work, and I'm not even done with one of the bio of a character that I'm writing for.
Yeah, it's a lot different though when you're talking about a visual medium like comics. I gave the example of Returner's magic should be special, and if you read the web novel, it's just like some random ideas about some guy having a regression in a fantasy world and game mechanics, whatever. But it's very bare bones. It's very like, yeah, here's a game mechanic, here's a this or that. Like what? Like an average person who reads books goes, what the hell is this garbage? But then you get it to the manga, you're like, oh, I can see what was going on here. And you compare that to like, the Neil Gaiman scripts for Sandman. He's like writing in between the margins. He's describing one panel and one page, and all this detail just to get one thing across. So the process is a lot different, at least in the 90s for Gaiman compared to the manga authors and artists of today.
Saying, but sometimes people forget for some reason. Like with Tony Valente and Radiant. He's French. I mean, I'm pretty sure he lived in Japan and he learned in Japan. But hey, point is, technically that's a French-Japanese manga, and it looks like it's just a manga. It looks like if a lot of people didn't know that Tony Valente was originally French, they probably would never have guessed. The artist doesn't need to go to Japan or be Japanese or Korean or whatever. They just need to know the art style. You don't need to be a certain ethnicity to know an art style.
Man, you're going hard against the dogma because that's cultural appropriation, man.
That's literally the same argument I've heard about Scott Pilgrim. It's a manga. No, it's not. And people just can't understand that. I don't know why this is even an argument. Oh, but it looks like the style. Yeah, it's not a manga. It's a comic. Stop saying that Scott Pilgrim is a manga. It's a fucking comic.
This wasn't about Scott Pilgrim.
Well, I know that, but he's using the example some French dude in France made a manga. So
yeah, but that was an actual manga.
Made something in the style of a manga.
Yeah,
you probably mean that.
It's not. This is not a big reveal. It's not some revelation that we've never heard of before. You can have other people from other countries write or make something from another country. It's like, wow, you can make udon in Italy. Whoa, noodles.
Yeah, this is pretty much like the Ratatouille example. Not everyone can become an artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere, and that is true. A good story writer can come from anywhere. But just by stating that the story needs to be good, it's not gonna make it. So
that's the message of Ragnarok. We have to be better. Boy,
we have to be better, Senator. Oh wait, we don't have senators yet. It's such garbage.
If that's the lesson this person's trying to impart, I'm like, okay.
How the fuck do people watch this kind of content? That is the real mystery for me.
It was a rambling mess with all these platitudes. I'm like, and some of it makes sense. You're like, yeah, politics suck, therefore comics could suck. I guess. How?
Half a million subs.
Yeah.
Argument that, but comics are in color and manga is not.
What?
No, not necessarily.
Some of the most popular manga.
That is all about the shading. Recently I have been watching a lot of Itu Van Skyver, and he does a lot of reviews on comic books and manga. And he was reviewing, I think, Rock Ninja something. So basically it's like an American comic that is drawn in black and white, but there are so many panels where you just can't make out what is on the paper, because the background is not shaded in a way that you would see the characters pointed out, and it's bad.
Yeah.
But my favorite example for black and white comics that do work is Berserk. That is just perfect. The characters just pop, and the backgrounds are extremely detailed, but at the same time, it's not overshadowing what is going in the foreground.
Yeah.
And that is a skill to learn. And it's not about you having a black and white comic book and it's inferior. And like in a lot of times, I would basically prefer like a black and white because it's like a unique art form by itself.
Yeah, I have the Spawn Origins collection here on the shelf, and in the back there are some artworks still just in the ink version, and some of the panels look better in just black and white. No question. I would rather hang those on the wall than the actual panels in color.
I would say even the popular stuff in China and South Korea, so the manhwas and the manhwas, are all full color, at least the ones that we get. So either this person has never seen those, or we're talking about like Solo Leveling. I have about a dozen whose names I always forget, but they're all in full color, and they're mostly South Korean. So no, they're very popular, and they sell we get hundreds of millions of views on these things on just the one website I go to.
It just really depends on the comic, black or white or in color. As long as it's good, I'll, kudos.
All right, we got less than a minute. Almost done.
Therefore, comics are better. You're wrong. Clearly, not enough people care. But the conversation around this whole situation is complicated. The surge of relevancy that comic books got with the DCEU and the MCU is slowly fading, especially since a lot of the Marvel movies kind of suck nowadays. And manga has been waiting
Yes, because
to
of
take
your
over
politics.
with a ton of original stories.
You have said nothing. You have not given me one reason or the main reason why this is the case. You just sat there and talked about your hobby. That's it. What is the point of this video? If I say I'm going to give you the answer to the universe and I just talk about how great life is, I don't give you an answer, like a straight answer, then no, I'm wasting your time.
You should eat steak on medium.
The answer to life is steak.
That is the... Yes.
20 seconds for an answer.
No, it's not going to happen. Leave me alone.
Of course it isn't.
I'm not going there. We're going to memes where we have some joy in our life now. Hopefully. Or people will post random shit and I have to read it. What is this random shit? What is this? Who posted this? I can't even read this. It's a video. I'll play it later. Okay. Another video I'll play later. Jeez, guys. Gingaman, thank you. July 1st. This was the Sonic Boom image shown in the video. Okay. Oh, thank you. I didn't get a chance to read that. You know, Amy, anytime someone calls attention to the breaking of gender roles, it ultimately undermines the concept of gender equality by implying that this is an exception and not the status quo.
Huh. Okay.
What was that from? Jeez.
I forgot what episode.
Amy was doing a feminism and Knuckles corrected her on being sane. So he mansplained, which is not okay.
Here's Mark's, I don't know what Mark's doing here. The most under-discussed physical difference between genders is men having knees oriented outwards and women inwards. What?
Yes. Have you ever noticed this, Smart?
Shut up. Shut up. Help me. Iceman. Whoa, what the hell is that? Oh, that's Marvel. Wow.
Yes, this is the infamous Iceman comic.
And this is number 2?
Jean Grey made Iceman.
Ugly.
God, are you serious? This was the cover of number 2?
Yes.
Marvel Voices. What the... Ivy getting fed up with Harley's crap. Yeah, do I want to read that? No. Yeah, it's... last one from Mike Testa. DC writers deciding Harley's love life. Abusive maniac, genocidal maniac. Yeah.
Options are bad.
They could have done a lot of great things with that character, and they made a joke out of her.
Yep. Same with now Mr. Freeze's wife.
What happened to her?
They turned her into a tramp.
She's out of her coma?
Yes.
Yeah, and she's now she ditched Mr. Freeze and is now just a drug addicted mess that fucks around.
Isn't she also like part of the Harley Quinn show?
No way.
It's the same. It's the same show.
The whole thing Iceman devoted his life to.
Mr. Freeze, you mean?
Mr. Freeze. The thing he's obsessed with, his undying love for. He would do anything for his wife, and she comes out and she's what? Pissed that he saved her life? Found the cure?
Yeah, typical feminism.
I am surprised they haven't done something similar to Catwoman yet.
I mean,
They have been making her into a girl boss for quite a while now.
I mean, I'm not surprised they did that. I mean, look what they did with Jake Skywalker. Like, they'll take anything that is beloved or interesting and shit on it.
I'm not against having internal conflict and all kinds of psychological issues and characters that you know and love or whatever, but Mr. Freeze's wife? Jeez.
Because she was a pure, elegant woman, and they had to defile that. Because nothing pure, innocent, and beautiful can exist in this ideology.
It was basically a Mr. Grimm's fairy tale story, and they screwed it up. How could you do that?
With malice.
I'm still trying to think about how... You know how many people would love to write that? Oh, she wakes up. We found a cure for her thing. What happens? Oh, she's a bitch. Like, what? No, it sounds...
You know how many people would love to write Star Wars or Star Trek or any of these all big, cool things?
Well, maybe not anymore. But...
And they don't get to. Instead, they hire all these assholes that just destroy everything.
Scott, have you seen the teaser for the new Batman animated show that's produced by Bruce Timm?
I saw a trailer last week. It had the style of like the 1940s, I think.
No, it was more towards like the style of the animated series.
Like the haircuts, the style, like the fashion style, like all the women had a certain like they wore suits in the...
you mean like the Art Deco style?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, that's the one.
Maybe a bit older. I don't know exactly the time frame, but it looked cool. Its style I liked. And I think I think it was Harley Quinn. She was a police person or something like that.
She's Asian now.
Oh yeah. Okay, maybe I saw something else where I don't know the character.
Oh, and it's where she's fat and ugly.
No.
Not yet.
Don't think so. Anyway, holy hell, I was hoping for something, but to blame politics because politics bad, comic books are bad is just insane. I don't even know what that means.
Well, no, that is the reason.
No, you can't say that frickin' Obama was in office and therefore...
Oh, not that politics.
Well, that's what they said. They said
yeah, because this is, I guess, coping, damage control or anything. The politics that ruined it are the politics of this person with the weird non-binary sticker.
You could argue any inclusion that shouldn't be there, if it's a thing that shouldn't be there, it's going to be bad. So I don't care if it's politics or it's...
Yeah, but I have to blame something else than what is really the cause so that they can keep doing the cause.
This person, as you said, what was the term for the non-fan? The
tourist.
The tourist. This is the best example of a tourist who does in fact perhaps buy the mangas, but then doesn't actually read them or doesn't understand what they read.
It's an everything tourist.
I don't believe this person bought the manga because just
I mean, look, they've got the Ankh from Sandman going. I don't know what those earrings are.
Just an Ankh?
Well, why else would they have an Ankh? Tell me why.
It's this... because
you can collect them in Crash Bandicoot as time relic.
Because Ankhs are cool and rebirth stuff and blah.
So you're saying
falls in line with the theme that like this person is running away from himself.
Oh God, I don't know. This felt so superficial and surface level and just rambling nonsense. And they actually might have said some actually accurate things here, but it didn't make sense because it was just a mess of ideas. Like if you had a pair or a page, like if you wrote this thing down or printed it out, I would see one giant stream of consciousness. I would just be circling every sentence because every sentence would be a different topic and it'd be like random. So, yeah, guys, this is horrible. I mean, we could cover another one just to to laugh at how bonkers it is, but there's really no reason to.
Didn't Tabernacle do a new thing?
I saw a video that you guys posted, but I didn't actually watch it. So,
But do we want to cover Tabernacle?
Nothing about this has anything to do with wanting.
I mean,
Ridiculous.
if you guys covered this person again, I would probably say not, because, like I said a while back, I've watched like some of his videos, and some of it is just like, what the fuck does that mean? Okay, I guess that's a good point, but still, huh? Like, that was my entire experience watching this person, just trying to figure out what they're on about.
It would be nice to find another content creator that we can laugh at, like a heartfelt laugh, and not just because we want to kill ourselves.
So,
In more interesting news, Smud, have you watched the fan film?
no, I haven't got around to it. I was busy yesterday, and today I was doing all my video editing. So maybe I'll do it tonight. Yeah,
End the day with it.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get some tea and relax and remind myself that I am an intelligent, healthy individual and I have a lot to live for. And not watching this
There
person.
are so many more steaks to eat.
Yeah, I got to marinate them. I got to hunt them down and drag them back in the pickup truck and
And you could shoot
do the real thing.
deers with me.
I don't have my crossbow, so I have to get one new one or something. I don't know. That'll work. Anyway,
Have a gun?
thank you guys for your attention. That was a 2-year-old video that we'll never watch again. So have yourself a great one.
2 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Somebody hasn't been in the news.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.